Welcome to Stargate SG-1 for the first time, still not a Star Trek podcast. My name is Jeff Akin, and I'm watching Stargate SG-1 for the first time.
And I'm Brent Allen, and I'm watching Stargate SG-1 for the 47th time. But for the first time, I am looking for what Stargate is trying to teach us. You know, those lessons that hold up a mirror to society, give us hope that things can be better in the future, or just tell us how to be better human beings to one another.
Let's find out how the human beings are in the 9th episode of the 3rd season of SG-1, Rules of Engagement. Now, last week when I predicted what this was going to be about, I figured the episode's going to open with SG-1 coming through the gate back into the SGC. It'll be the return of the SGC. They will have gotten into some stuff, and they're going to get in trouble, and we're going to kind of get the almost courtroomy type of episode of what are the rules of engagement, which is a good question. Another good question is, like, when did this episode come out? What cool facts are there about it? Why don't you lay it on us?
Yeah, there's really not any cool facts about this episode, John.
Oh, great.
It's so weird. Here's a fact about this episode. It came out on August 20th, 1999. So that's it. There's no notable guest stars, no notable writer and director. Nothing I need to tell you about going into the episode. And frankly, there's really nothing much coming out on the other side of the episode other than what happens. So,
all right.
With that, Jeff, why don't we jump into it, buddy?
Let's do it.
All right. Hey, listen, if this is your first time here, first of all, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. You guys are amazing. What's about to happen is Jeff and I are going to go watch this episode right now. But you're like, wait, you've already started the episode. What do you mean? Haven't you already watched it yet? No, we haven't. We're going to go watch it right now. If you're hanging out with us on YouTube, you're actually going to stick around and you're going to get to see our reactions. We'll cut it up and you'll see the reactions to this episode as Jeff watches it for the first time, me looking for those messages for the first time. If you would like to get the full unedited version of this entire video, including all that stuff that we did before we actually jumped on here, head over to patreon.com/ByNerds. And you guys can check that out and see all those levels. Plus, you get cool things like joining us on Discord, monthly hangout with Jeff and I. You can get, who knows what else we're going to have by the time all this goes on. Lots of stuff to go. But you guys definitely make sure you check that out. Patreon.com/ByNerds.
If you're listening on a podcasting app, you can also join us on our Patreon. It's pretty awesome. Come for the SG-1, stay for the awesome community. But in the meantime, we're going to gate you into the future. You're going to join us on the other side. I'm going to share my first-time reactions to this episode. Brent will share any of those sci-fi messages that he found. So, Brent, let's kick this off. Rules of engagement.
Chevron 7 locked.
All right, Jeff, before we go any further, first of all, I want to say welcome back to all of our audio listeners who've just gated into the future. Hello, hello, hello. Jeff and I have just watched this episode, Rules of Engagement, for the very first time. Jeff, this is typically where I'd say, hey, what about it? Talk to us. But I have a question for you first.
Okay.
Who did it better? Who did this episode better? Stargate SG-1.
Let me stop you. Right before we came back into the future, I said, hold on a second. I need to write my tagline. Can I get you my tagline and see if we're in the same place?
Sure.
Episode 9, Season 3 of SG-1, Rules of Engagement, is Lord of the Flies meets Valiant from Deep Space Nine.
Not what I was going to say.
Oh, okay.
So I'll go. Here's mine.
All right.
You ready? Who did this episode better? Stargate SG-1 or Star Trek Voyager for In the Flesh? For those of you who don't know, in Star Trek Voyager, there's an episode called In the Flesh. Spoiler alert if you've never seen it. 3, 2, 1, fast forward 20 seconds. Species 8472 completely mocks up and imitates the Starfleet Academy back on Earth, all the way down to their groundskeeper Boothby. And the crew finds this thing out there. So again, I ask you, Jeff, who did it better, SG-1 or Star Trek Voyager?
I think the SG-1 did it better.
Really?
And I think SG-1 did it better because they weren't fake, right? They were real people doing a real assignment with a real thing, whereas 8472 was a whole thing that was created to try as a very targeted false thing built up. Apophis was trying to train infiltrators for this. This was a legit operation.
But that's also legitimately what 8472 was trying to do.
But they weren't
trying to train them to go invade and take over and know thy enemy.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
they did. That's actually a really good episode.
It was a great episode of Voyager. It really was.
So I want to say this. This is my cop-out way of answering the question. Very different, because I think this one, it's very Lord of the Flies. This is a bunch of kids left on an island.
Yep.
Piggy's got the conch, and they argue over Section 7, Article 3, or Article 7, Section 3, as to who gets to talk when there's the conch. So you've got this whole juvenile thing going on. You have this whole blind adherence to faith thing going on. Whereas in the Flesh, singular purpose, created a false thing with the soul. Like, it was, everyone knew it was up, in that thing. So I think they're too different to compare to each other, but definitely inspired. So I think this one is, in the Flesh, Valiant from DS9. That's where Nog ends up on the Valiant, which is another Defiant class ship with kids, Red Squad on board. And they are basically out there following the last orders they got, even though all the Jaffa masters, actual commissioned officers were gone. It's a very similar. And then, so it's just an amalgamation of those three, frankly, pretty great things. Lord of the Flies, excellent piece of literature.
Mm-hmm.
Valiant, great episode. It's what I named my crew of my Patreon for Starfleet Leadership Academy. They're my Red Squad. And then in the Flesh. So it's kind of good. I'm struck by a lot. This was a fun episode. It was a cool idea. I love how it brought us into the whole thing. It was like, as soon as I saw them come over that ridge, I was like, oh, it's a War Games thing. And then it just kind of gave you the little pieces, spoon, baby bird fed you all the little pieces as to what was really going on.
Yeah.
Of course, Apophis set something like this up, right? It's like, this makes total sense. I like how they worked in the SG-11 stuff on how they did it. What I am struck with, though, a couple things. Well, I think this was a great Jack episode, specifically. Jack is our fly-by-night, good times guy, good at his job, but also takes it very seriously by not taking it very seriously. He's keeps everybody cool and on task doing things. But this time, there was a lot on the line, and he got intense. We saw Colonel O'Neill in this episode, and I thought that was a really great look at him. It was a great Tilk episode. The episode started off with him just in his element, telling people what to do, saying the language, smiling, smirking because he knew it was up. And that kind of fizzled, and it handed over to Jack from there. And I was disappointed that Tilk didn't continue in that, but also it made sense. Like it progressed the story well. We got a little view at the morality of SG-1. I noted in the final challenge that all the kids have real live weapons, and they've got missiles and mortars and all this stuff. SG-1, they're carrying INTARs. They're not killing anybody. They're just knocking them out. Any other show, even SG-1, could have had them with real weapons, real firearms, blasting those kids and killing them. No one would bat an eye. That's just what we do. But they took a very, I have to think, intentional decision to say, no, we're going to have them use the INTARs because it's not the kids' fault.
Well, as I say, you also can't have your heroes of the show going out and killing kids.
You can't?
No.
Oh, yes.
JMS did not write this.
That's good stuff. I'd beg to differ.
He did not write this. No, but even when JMS killed kids, he didn't have the heroes of his show kill the kids.
Dr. Franklin's not one of the heroes.
Dr. Franklin did not kill a kid.
They totally enabled it. Wow, I just inflamed a whole community right there again.
The parents killed that kid.
Yeah, they made the choice. Franklin let them. You're right, they couldn't, but if they did, no one would have batted an eye.
Yeah.
And so I think it was cool that they made that choice. The big thing in this episode that hit me, though, was 2 weeks in a row, we have been shown blind belief and adherence to a faith until they see otherwise. So last week we had the canon who's like, we have to do the thing, until he saw that the Unas was just, this monster or whatever. And it wasn't. He's like, oh my gosh, I've seen, and now I believe. We talked about the whole doubting Thomas thing last week. Fast forward to this week, those kids were fanatical about following Apophis, willing to kill, willing to be killed, right, in the worship of their god Apophis.
Yeah.
Until they saw that he was mortal, and weak, and he died. Once they see that blind adherence, when they see the blind adherence goes away, because now they have seen. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. Like, on one hand, I feel like you can honor the faith of these kids. Strong faith is an amazing gift for people to have. It's unfortunate when that faith is used for violence, like here, and for alienation, like that was used here. But faith, that's kind of cool. Also, it's interesting that faith gets shaken, not on words, not even on trusted people saying things. Tilk told them all this. They didn't believe him. They had to see it. And I just think there's a lot to think about in that. Yeah, it was a fun episode. I enjoyed this episode. A really cool idea. I'm curious, though, if you pulled any sci-fi messages out of this one that I may have missed.
The answer is no, because it's not that there were no sci-fi messages in this. It's that you didn't miss them. You literally just said what I have written down.
That's the thing. Is
blind adherence can be your death.
Yeah.
That's literally what I just had written down. These kids were here because this is what they were brought up to believe. Their parents taught them this, the system that they were raised in. This is just how it is. There's just no questioning about it. This is fact. This is how things are being taught to them. This is a god. This is the way it is. You're going to go do this. We're going to do this. This is all about worshiping our god Apophis. Their parents taught them to do this. I don't know that you could say that they were like brainwashed as much as this is just how they're raised. I have said on maybe not SG1 for the first time, but definitely Babylon 5 for the first time, my own story. I was raised here in the South. There are certain ideas, there are certain presumptions that people in my area where I grew up in, we just sort of like, it's just how things are. And it blows your mind to think that there are actually people around the world or around the country that don't understand that these things are true.
Just don't accept it as what it is.
I think it's very easy to take this and apply this to political beliefs. And I don't want to go down that road. But listen, in this country where we are, there are people that I know that are raised Republican. And this is how you're raised. Your mom and dad were Republican. Your grandparents were Republican. Everybody's Republican. Everybody around you is Republican. So you're a Republican, and this is what it is. Those damn dirty Democrats. I also know people that were raised Democrat. Their parents were Democrats. Their grandparents were Democrats. Their aunts and uncles were Democrats. They don't understand how Republicans work whatsoever. And those guys are ruining our country and holding everything back. Either side may be true at any given time. I don't want to get into that.
There's a Venn diagram there with a lot of overlap.
Right. Yes. But what I mean is both sides, you can blindly raise people to their political beliefs. Okay. Whigs versus Tories over in England. I know we have a lot of listeners over in England and in the United Kingdom, I should say. I don't know what the two-party systems are around all of the world. Sorry, that's my own ignorance. Yes, this is a very American-centric idea that I just said. Hello, I'm an American. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, just change the names for your names, and it's the same thing.
But my point being, people are brought up to, okay, so that's political. Okay, let's set that aside. Religious beliefs. You're brought up to believe that this is fact. This is true. No questions asked. This is how we behave. This is what we go do until you question it, until you go see. And I'm not saying to debunk the entire religion, but, to at least know why you believe it and why you don't believe the other side of it, how you're okay with the own holes in your own faith. I think this is also just as easily to apply to persons of authority. I have been and lived in a culture where you never, ever questioned a coach, a teacher, a parent, ever. Whatever they said, that's it. There was zero questioning of authority. I'm not saying be disrespectful. Just this is just the way it is. No matter what they say, this is how we're raised, right? I love what you said a second ago. None of them would believe until they saw him die. It wasn't until they saw that their blind adherence could go away. They could see in order to not be blind anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you said. It was that the intention of this episode to say, hey, we're going to write this morality show and hold up a mirror and do all of this and discuss it. Did they really even discuss it a whole lot? No, not really. This was just, hey, there's this group of people out there that have that. This is where they're raised, and SG-1's going to go free them because they came across them. That's really, I don't think there was a huge intention. I know intentionality tends to be a deal. So I'm going to bring that back. I do think it is an interesting discussion, a jumping off point, I should say. This episode can give you a jumping off point to go, and I think we should all consider that. What are the things in my life that I believe? What are the tenets that I hold? And is that because I truly believe that that's true from my own experience and the way things have been presented to me? Or is it just because it was downloaded into my brain with how I was growing up? You should know.
Mm-hmm.
You should know one way or the other, and at least be able to recognize it and acknowledge it. So, Jeff, for me, I'm going to give this one 2 chevrons. 2 chevrons. I think it's there. It's a good jumping off point. Episode didn't do much to discuss it. That's okay. You know, I don't think it was an intention, but it's there. I think it's very clearly there.
I agree. I think if people weren't watching it the way we watch shows, that would have not even been a blip.
No. And frankly, I had to stretch for that one a little bit.
Yeah.
It's there. Like, it's clearly there, but I had to stretch for it. So
it's such a great point. My God, I spend a lot of time thinking about this. Is this belief my belief, or is it a result of my enculturalization?
Yeah.
Am I speaking? Is my grandparents speaking through me right now, or whatever?
Prepare for incoming gold channel communication.
Before we gate into the rest of this episode, did you know you're missing most of the content from this podcast? Stargate SG-1 for the first time has an active and exciting Patreon that you can join right now by clicking the link in the show notes. Not only will you get access to the full, unedited podcast and reaction videos, you'll also be able to join a growing, vibrant, maybe even an intergalactic community. Subscribers even get access to all of our content from Babylon 5 for the first time. Don't miss out on this content and the amazing people. Just click the link in the show notes. Tilk thinks you should do it right now.
Indeed.
Can I want to bounce off that just for a second. You and I have been doing stuff together now for, are we at years?
Yeah, we're at years now, I think. 2, 3, yeah.
2 years now, a couple years, maybe 3 years now at this. God, I don't know.
It's been a while. I don't know.
It's been we've done this quite a few times. We are well over 100 episodes together.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
By the time we take everything in, we might even be knocking on the door of 150, maybe 2.
I think close to 2.
We might be close to 2. There are often times when I hear you say stuff, Jeff, that even today, where I think and I go, that sounds like a very Northwestern Seattle Oregonian thing. That's not how it is down here. It just, that's you up there in that part of the country. That doesn't apply to me down here. There are often times you say stuff like that. I don't come back at it because it doesn't really matter one way or the other, but to your point, like
it makes such a difference. Like what I'm about to share is one of those things, right? So a couple of months ago, I went to a breathing exercise retreat with the intention of shedding some of my culture. Really, to get high on my own air supply. Is what I did there. It's called holotropic breathing. Look it up. It's amazing. It was a transformative experience for me, and the point was really to shed that enculturalization for a moment and see what was real, and then try and build on that. At the time of this recording, in 4 days, 3-4 days, I'm going to go into the woods and I'm going to eat a bunch of mushrooms, and I'm going to do the same thing and going out in nature and trying to shed my enculturalization to further see what my real beliefs are. Like, who am I and what do I truly believe as me, and not what is the Northwest saying through me, my grandparents, my job, my religion, my whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be here next week watching whatever we watch next week because I'm going to be fine. I might be a little cooler, right? But all this to say, question, man. And you said a thing I thought was great. That doesn't mean be disrespectful. That doesn't mean attack. As a manager, I call it inviting dissent. When I can have dissenting thoughts and opinions on my team, that's the value of diversity, is different thoughts. It's not dissenting in that you're wrong and I'm right. It's dissenting in that it's different.
Yeah.
And let's do that, man. Like, let's ask those questions. Let's look at different perspectives. And the only way you can get different perspectives is inviting dissenting opinions and asking questions. Brent, 2 chevrons, excellent rating. We talked about this more than the episode even thought about it.
Yeah, right.
And that's good on us.
Well, hey, you know what I want to know, Jeff? Here's the thing. A lot of times we kind of put stuff out there and like, yeah, sometimes our listeners, though, catch stuff that you and I never even talked about.
Very true.
We're not saving or holding anything back for Stargate SG-1 for the second time or anything like that. So, hey, listen, out there, let us know what your rating is. What messages did you catch? Is there anything that Jeff and I missed? Let us know. Drop it down in the comments. Hit us up on Twitter. Shoot us an email. You can go to our website and you could do like some little form which shoots us an email, all that sort of stuff. So you guys let us know. We would really love to know. Hey, Jeff, got an updated tracking sheet real quick, though.
Yes.
So to add to our counts, we got 1 for Crying Out Loud. We got 1 Daniel death, which is going to bring our Jack Crying Out Louds up to 18 so far, which feels low to me. I feel like we should be up in the 30s by now. I really do.
We've had a real dry spell, though.
Yeah. We had a Daniel death, and that brings us up. Do you have any idea how close we are on Daniel deaths?
That's going to be number 7.
6. This is number 6.
Wow.
Daniel has died 6 times on screen.
That's a lot of dying. Are we tracking Indeeds? Because we got an Indeed as well in this one.
Did we have an Indeed? I might have missed it. I was wondering, was there an Indeed?
There was an Indeed, yes.
Because this would be our second Indeed. Like, that's it. You know, they trust me, very soon they start coming pretty fast and furious. Like,
so people listening to the audio version of this, there was an ad at some point about our Patreon, and it ends with Tilk saying Indeed. And I had to go capture that. There's a YouTube video. I didn't listen to it. I didn't use it for that. But it's every time Tilk says Indeed, and it's 6 minutes and 19 seconds long.
I understand that.
So that's a lot of Indeed.
So there is an official, just so you know, I'm going to see how close we get to this number at the end. I have 3 numbers of the total counts of Indeeds over the course of SG-1.
Okay.
And it's 154, 167, and 177.
Oh my God.
So it's all right there within like a 20 shot window, but they're pretty, like I said, and we're here in the middle of season 3 and we're at 2 so far. So they, like I said, they do start coming pretty good here,
Indeed.
And there's a reason why that video is 6 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jeff, so with that, I rated the episode. You get to rank it, my friend. You get to take this episode and place it in our 100% completely accurate and definitive ranking of Stargate SG-1 Season 3. Let's go with our current top 5 today. The current top 5, I'll go from 5 down to 1. Number 5 is Dead Man's Switch. Number 4 is Legacy. 3 is Into the Fire. 2 is Learning Curve. And 1 is Fair Game. Jeff, I really have no idea where you're going to place this one. I could see this going in multiple directions. And once you lay it on us, where do you place completely accurately this in the ranking so far?
It's not going to be in the top 5. So we can know that. But my question really comes down to, it's either going to be above Demons or above Point of View. So it's either going to be the new number 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
And the question I'm asking myself right now is, how did this episode end compared to the other ones? We joked in the watch that like, oh, it's just over. Like, look at that. They showed the Apophis video and now the episode's just done. Wow. Okay. Look at that. So does that hold up compared to, so the Unas like hit a guy and just died? Like, what? what was that?
Right.
possibly the coolest thing that could happen. And as I say that, it is the story in this one was done. There was no reason for them to show more. There was stuff in Demons that should have happened and didn't, and it hurt it last week. It's hurting it again. Brent, this is going to be Rules of Engagement is our new number 6.
Number 6. All right. Well, Jeff, with that is going to wrap up Rules of Engagement. Put a bow on that one. Next time, Jeff, you want to talk about what we're listening to or what we're watching next time?
Yeah. What are we watching?
We're watching it. I've actually been very excited for you to get to this episode.
Oh, okay.
I cannot tell you why until after you watch it.
I'm nervous.
Jeff, take your earphones off because Jeff, here, you can't look in my word. Don't look in my mouth because Jeff has been talking about this since the pilot episode. This is the one where Daniel and Sharae come back together. So yeah, that's it. Just in case you guys didn't know, this was what he thought the end of season 1 was going to be, was this episode here. I just trying to remind the folks at home in case they didn't remember what this particular episode was about, why Brent is so excited. But like I said, I can't tell you until after. Yeah,
that's fair.
After next week. I am saying nothing of the quality of the episode. You will have to decide that for yourself. There is a specific reason that has nothing to do with that has everything to do with the content of the episode, not the quality of the episode. So I'll let you make that decision unabated by me. I'm excited for it. Would you like to venture a guess though? Let's see how close you cannot get to this episode. Forever and a Day is the name of the title of the episode.
Forever and a Day.
Not and a day. Forever in, I-N, Forever in a Day.
Is this a sequel to Brief Candle? Maybe that's going to be my guess. Like this is going to build on that. Like, well, they tried to fix that. So maybe this is a go back and look at trying to fix the Brief Candle stuff. That's very specific and also super general.
It is super general.
Safe shot. It's the gist is it's going to be one of those like compressed time frame things, like we're going to see old Jack again, maybe. So I'd be good with that. They did good. They did a good job with the old makeup.
All right. Well, we'll find out next time right here on Stargate SG-1 for the first time. Still not a Star Trek podcast. Hey, thank you guys out there so much for joining us. Please be sure to check us out wherever you get your podcasts or your YouTube videos. Leave us ratings, reviews, subscribe, like, all that sort of stuff. It helps us out a ton. You wouldn't even believe how much it does. Also, please share this video with someone that you know who needs some SG-1 in their life, a little more SG-1 in their life to go through it. Somebody who likes this show, somebody who's trying to relive it, or somebody who, like my friend Jeff over there, is watching it for the very first time. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week for Forever and a Day. Until then.
Hey, Brent.
What's up?
Warriors of Bi-Nerds, listen to the one that holds the vacuum. Brent, standing before you, speaks in my name. Heed his words. He is much loved by Apoth Akin. Brent, go ahead. Brent, go.
For crying out loud.